And then in your sujood, prostration, you do something called munajat. Munajat means to confide in Allah. What does confide mean? It's when you have a really close friend and they are the only ones you tell your inner deepest secrets to. You say them to Allah and to no one else. You talk about your feelings and your shortcomings. You talk about your achievements. Munajat. You confide in Allah. And so your closeness you start to feel that closeness. Al-Qalb, my dear brothers and sisters, is that inner divine gift which Allah gave us that is connected to our heart. It is the thing that reminds us. It is the thing that is honest and truthful. It has a close connection to the soul. But the soul is like an authority. It is something can't describe. The qalb is closer to you. The heart, which we are talking about, this inner divine thing that Allah gave us, is closer to you. It travels between you and the soul, you and your mind, you and your eyes, you and your heart. That is your moral compass. When does it wake up? When do you feel it? You feel it in events in your life. You feel it when you recite the Quran, the words of Allah, meaningfully, not just ritualistically. You come in, you prepare yourself and you recite from the Quran to know it. To recite it because you chose to. Even if you don't understand any of it, you recite it out of worship for Allah. You feel it when you pray to Allah your daily prayers because you want to. And you come prepared. You feel it when you do good deeds for the sake of Allah and for no other purpose. What I mean by that, you may do it to earn money, that's fine, but you always make a portion of it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You help someone, and if you don't get anything out of it, your intention is for Allah. You visit a sick person, you ask about a person, you forgive if you can. You be nice to the people who don't really deserve that much niceness, but you're nice. But don't be overly nice, because then, not to everybody, because they could probably use you. But the point is, you are a person who is genuine. You feel it when you pray in the night. Just before you go to sleep or in the night, you decide to make wudu. And then you go and pray 2 rak'ahs. And then in your sujood, prostration, you do something called munajat. Munajat means to confide in Allah. What does confide mean? It's when you have a really close friend and they are the only ones you tell your inner deepest secrets to. You say them to Allah and to no one else. You talk about your feelings and your shortcomings. You talk about your achievements. Munajat. You confide in Allah. And so your closeness you start to feel that closeness. Do you guys do it? I'll give you one more. Dhikr. You know what dhikr is? Dhikr is Allah's remembrance. How does a Muslim remember Allah? You need to use your mouth and your body. Dhikr are words that you say when you wake up, words that you say when you leave the house, words that you say when you come into the house, words when you say when you go to sleep, when you go to work, when you start something, when you end something, when you wear your clothes, when you eat, when you drink. Dhikr words. And I advise you to download a little book now you can download it. It's an app called Fortress of the Muslim, Husn al-Muslim. One of the amazing books of dhikr. Download it. It comes in transliteration. It comes from English translations as well, and the Arabic there for you. So if you don't know how to read Arabic, you can read the letters in English. I once took students to Umrah, and actually we're taking them again. It's probably the 8th time. But in the 2nd time we went, I had a year 10 student with me. And we went into a bookstore, and I said, I'm going to buy you this little book here as a gift on one condition. He said, what's the condition? I said, I want to see it in your hands ripped apart. I want the pages ripped apart and the pages scrunched up and like they've been I want you to use the living daylights out of it. I don't want to see it in 2 years' time still nice. Meaning I want you to learn it and memorize it and use it. Wallahi, this young man took this challenge and he was so honest. Subhanallah, the fact that he made that decision, I remember him in Umrah. I'd say a little word, a little story, and he would be the first one to tear up. He felt the khushu', he felt the spirituality. Do you know why? Because he made an inner decision. Brothers and sisters, it's a decision. You make the decision. You make the decision that you are going to be merciful. You make the decision that you are going to be compassionate to your family. You make the decision that you want to start praying your 5 daily prayers. You make the decision that you are going to read the Quran at least 15 minutes a day. You make the decision that you are going to get that book and you're going to memorize as much as you can of the dhikr. You're going to start with 1 or 2. You make the decision in the morning that you're going to be energetic. You make the decision in the morning that you're going to smile to someone today. You make the decision in the morning that you're going to be optimistic. You make the decision today that you are not going to give up. You make that decision, brothers and sisters. Don't sit there coming to me and say, how do I pray? You make the decision. How do I get that blanket off me in the morning? How? Say by doing that and making the decision. How do I connect with Allah. I told you, do these 5 things, but decide that you're going to do them. You make that decision, you own it. Just like we make the decision for everything else, and it becomes ours. And watch how your heart will change and how your awareness will be. It takes steps, and you don't make it happen. It happens, but you've got to take those steps. Some people say to me, I do it, but I don't feel the Iman. Brothers and sisters, stop asking questions. Continue with what you're doing, inshaAllah. Change around your acts of worship. One of the things is, sometimes we say Subhan Rabbil Azim all the time in the same way. You know, in that book it teaches us different ways of saying Subhan Rabbil Azim. You can say Subbuhun Quddus Rabbul Malaikati wa Ruh. Read the meanings. Go and learn what the different actions of salat mean. Wallahi, that worked for me. I looked up and I said, what does this mean when I do that? I read Allahu Akbar. It means I leave everything that is in my hands and I throw the world behind me because I'm facing Allah. I made the decision, I'm not going to think about anything for the next 5 minutes. Why do I do this? I am not busying my hands with anything. I'm putting this away. No social media, no family, nothing. Just me and Allah. Why do I go down in bowing? I put my head that this is always, my knowledge, my power is humble before Allah. Who am I? I go down to the ground. I put my head aground and I say, I deserve to be in the soil. Who am I compared to Allah? There is no one more powerful than Allah, and I will only put my head down to Allah. These, when you look at the different movements, suddenly the salat means something different. Do things good for the sake of Allah, not because of you, something you want. It's called sincerity. Brothers and sisters, just go ahead, inshallah. Sometimes I put little clips on social media and we see people who have just got very, very brutal hearts. Subhanallah. Ya akhi, stop it. Stop and be humble to your heart. Don't be so hating. Don't be so judgmental. Don't be so, speculative. Don't be. Stop feeling sorry for yourself and go, inshallah, you have the power, and try to do something good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you. There are new doors that are going to open. It's better than continuing this way. I feel sadness for things that happened in my life, but I can be sad and be in a rehab, or I can be sad and continuing to do my work and my job and continuing to come in to talk to you and hide my sadness. I can. One is productive, the other one is not. One is purposeful, one is not. Anyway, the story goes on and on. So these are some things that we can do, brothers and sisters. And I just want to say something finally, inshaAllah. The way I'm seeing this current world, Allahu A'lam, when it comes to people following happiness, I think a lot of the young people are spending way too much time on non-beneficial things on social media. Like, it's become absurd. And I believe this is becoming the #1 reason for our depression, our anxieties, our worthlessness, our irritation, our fights. We live in a world where the meaning of happiness is misconstrued. It is based mostly on outward joy and materialistic gain. The idea most people have is run away from pain to joy and self-indulgence. Even though pain, you can't run away from it. Anyone who gets in their way of their feelings of comfort and enjoyment becomes a toxic person to them. The meaning of self-love is misconstrued. To many it means self-loathing and doing whatever the desires want without guilt or regret. The world we live in is becoming more and more about the individual, and only the individual, and any rules or obligations or responsibilities are considered an invasion and victimization of ourselves. We glue our eyes to the screens, phones and social media looking for something, but we don't know what we are looking for. We're looking for happiness or a solution or an answer, but we never get it. For many, it's so long as it makes you laugh. Bit of dopamine. Doesn't make you think, I'm okay because I don't have to think. Gives you no responsibility. I got no duty or accountability. Easy. And serves our desires and lusts. That's good, so long as that happens. We are happy to sit in our bedrooms and lock the door. Give us our devices, give us our earpods and access to all the services on the internet, lock our doors and rage at our parents, siblings or anyone who disturbs our comfort in the slightest. We think that happiness comes from shopping, buying, discarding them and keeping up to date with what is in. Anyone who merely advises us of our faults, we shun them as toxic and negative. Then there are those who find happiness in hurting and abusing others, possessive and controlling, parents and children and employers and friends who find their pleasure by subduing and putting down others. They find pleasure in making others feel intimidated by them and satisfying their already low self-esteem by putting down others. There are those who find pleasure in seeing others fail, winning against others under any circumstance, even if it leads to destroying other people's lives. Then there are those who see happiness in showing off, reliant on compliments and praise, even if it's fake. Those that think happiness is in getting the attention of that boy or girl with flimsy, cheap words and pictures. Those men whose egos are the center of their joy and showing off to their friends and counting how many women and girls they scored or played with or got her picture and words. And those women whose weak-mindedness makes them think that happiness is by all the clicking that people give her of likes and emojis, especially from the boys who were using them and not really seeing them as important. Some of them showing off their body and sexualizing themselves, some of them for a few cheap bucks. Then there are those who think happiness is to try harmful substances such as drugs, either to impress, to fit in, or to get accepted, or merely an illusion of running away and escaping pain and problems, thinking it will make them happy again somehow, but it's only destroying them. To those whom money, property and things are what they live for, earning it in all sorts of immoral ways and haram, and then they try to justify it by using and twisting religious texts or other justifications to try and make themselves feel justified by digging their guilt deep down until death comes. We still have time, brothers and sisters. Our soul is waiting. It's there. Allah is close. Our nafs has gotten hold of us. Let's start taming it, insha'Allah. Most of us here have white hair. I've dyed my beard. I've also have lots of white hair. But we're all on the other side of the hill. Some of us are working towards there. And some of us, we don't know if tomorrow you and I will be our time. So brothers and sisters, remember death, but death in a way that is not traumatizing, in a way to prepare to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and know that no one has control over you except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us blessing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us in increasing our Iman, in connecting our ties, and help us in strengthening our character. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rid away the harm and the challenges that consume us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our shortcomings and sins. We all sin, but the ones who accept the sin and keep going are not healthy. The ones who sin and try to minimize their sins, insha'Allah, will get better and feel their soul and heart. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.